Hi, this time we are going to continue with this series where I analyze the 17 Japanese rituals and occult games. If you haven't seen the other parts, please check out the playlist in the description. And as always, I apologize if the video gets slightly choppy when I pause and unpause the video. And if you don't believe in any of these things, just take it as fiction or fantasy, as inspiration for your tabletop RPGs or any other thing. Now let's proceed.
Answer Man. Also known as Kaiji Answer or Phantom of the Answer, this is another game originating from 2channel from the early 2000s, and is said to be quite popular amongst school children who aim to know the answers to burning questions they have. To play, you'll need 10 people with 10 cell phones. Burner phones can be used in place of your real cell phone, and considering what you'll have to do at the end of the ritual.
Okay, it's important to point out, well, it seems to me just by taking a look at this early information on the ritual, it seems to me as if they are going to contact an entity to obtain answers. When it comes to the occult, no matter what sort of entity you speak with or you contact with or whatever your contact, the real answers, the only answers, lie within you. Everything else could be considered advice or tips, but you need to make your own decisions. You need to find your own answers. No matter the information that is being presented to you, even if it looks to be quite important, it is essential, fundamental to consider that these beings, these entities, have their own objectives and agendas, and they are quite ready to lie for them in order to achieve their purpose. Even angels are not exempt from this rule. This is going to be somewhat of a spoiler, but it's the only way to explain. Well, it's one of the easiest ways to explain this. If you have played Soul Calibur 4 or 5, I think it was 5, the one with Patroclus and his sister, you know how he was Patroclus. Well, the main character was armed with Soul Edge, and his sister was armed with, no Soul Calibur. He had Soul Calibur, and his sister had Soul Edge. And Soul Calibur started to present itself as the spirit of his mother. I always thought of Soul Calibur as some sort of angelic power, while Soul Edge is pretty much a demonic force. But the angel had this objective of destroying Soul Edge, and it was willing to lie in order to achieve that purpose. You could say that it was for the greater good, but the same thing happens with angels in real life. They are completely focused on order. In some cases, goodness, but their priority is order. They are orderly beings. That's why you cannot exactly wield their power in its totality, in order to solve many problems in the world. And they are not all powerful, of course, but they have duties, the very reasons for their existence. They are tied to order, to a particular protocol or process. So in order to achieve those objectives, to follow those laws, those divine laws, the angels are ready to lie if needed, if necessary, if they think that they can achieve those objectives, or in some cases, if they think they are going to guide you towards some good objective. To put it in a certain way, it's not always going to be like that, but in the best of cases, you still need to make your own choice. Don't let yourself be manipulated. Sometimes it could be necessary. There could be some thick-headed people that will not do something unless they get tricked into doing some things. But if you are trying to be an intelligent person, keep in mind, keep into consideration that these entities are willing to lie and to trick you and to deceive you if it is necessary, according to their concept of greater good. So in the case of this game, you're not going to be contacting angels. Who knows what you're going to be contacting? We shall find out. So it is possible those beings may lie when communicating with you. Let's proceed.
It's very much recommended you do so. Step 1. Gather everyone into a circle. Step 2. Each person must give their number to the person on. Step 3. On the count of 3, each person must call the person on the left and place the phone up to their ear. If everyone present hears nothing but a busy signal or a voicemail, then the ritual has failed and you must try again. However, if one person hears someone answer and begins to speak, then you have successfully contacted the answer man. Now you must ask your question. It can be anything, so be sure to think carefully beforehand. Once you have gotten your answer,
there is a certain risk involved in this ritual. You don't know who the answer man is. It could be anything, any sort of entity, be it angelic, demonic, a human spirit, an elemental spirit. It could be pretty much anything. Although elementals do not usually employ technology to make such communications. And it is also important to consider, if you're going to owe something, you will have to be absolutely certain. And this is not explained in the ritual. They didn't carry out some sort of process explaining, because all of these rituals look a lot like some sort of legal process or court process. You need to be very clear about what is going to happen during the ritual. And in no moment they say something like, you will provide answers to me and I will owe you nothing for these answers, or something like that. So it could be that these entities will want to take payment later on for the answers that they provided. It also looks slightly similar to an occult game. I don't know if they are going to mention that occult game in this video. Do you know, excuse me for a moment. Oh, there we go. Okay. Do you know the anime Nube, Hell Teacher Nube, where there is this school teacher that is an exorcist, and all sorts of creepy things happen in his adventures. He's trying to protect his students, and etc. In that anime or manga, they actually explain a real occult game that actually works. You basically, in order to shorten the process, just a brief explanation, you need a dark room, and you need, I don't remember if 3 or 4 participants, but each one is standing at the corner of the room, and they start to run around. First, one participant runs from his corner to the corner to his left and touches that person. And then that person runs to the other corner. Yes, you need 4 participants, I think. That person runs from the corner and runs towards the other corner and touches the other person. And then the other person runs to the other corner and touches the other person. So they start to form a circle as each person is leaving his or her corner, reaches the other corner, touches the other person waiting there. Obviously, you have to stop at each corner. But there will be a moment when you're going to be touching someone that wasn't there before. I am willing to bet, or consider rather, that entity is summoned on the northeast corner. That's the corner where evil and chaotic entities, most of the time, they make their entrances. And you can also use that corner for ritual workings of destruction, although I would advise against those situations, perhaps only in very extreme cases, mostly because of the danger presented towards your person, towards yourself. So in the case of these telephones, that they were passing the telephone to the side, it seems to me a similar way of making this energy circle, like in the case of the room, each one running from corner to corner, touching the other person. Let me see if I got that correctly. I think it was only 3 participants. So one of those participants actually has to run a long way to touch the other person. So let's say that you were in the southwest corner and you make a run towards the yes, southwest. Well, it depends on the room, right? Well, from corner to corner, there will be a moment where you touch someone that wasn't supposed to be there. So let's continue.
The answer man will ask you a question. You must answer this question as honestly and truthfully as possible. If you succeed, you could then proceed to ask another question, and this cycle can continue as long as you like. When you are ready to end the call,
Yes, again, an element of an element of danger. Depending on your answer, depending on the question, rather, you could be forced to reveal some things that could be used against you. So again, you do not know who this entity is, what this entity is about. That entity could be searching for information to use against you. Let's continue.
thank the answer man for his time and try to pursue this offer. Be firm.
Yes, very suspicious. What if this entity, this answer man, is trying to, let's say, drill a hole through your aura? A lot of you already know this, but the human body, and they have taken photographs of this aura, we have this energy field around us. It serves as a sort of shield, keeps us safe from the attacks of others. The real fight in any confrontation begins at that energetic level. So even if, let's say, if you know martial arts, but you don't have that aggressiveness, that violence, you're going to be mush in any serious confrontation. Let's say that you get attacked and you need to fight for your life. If you don't have that warrior spirit of pretty much destroying, obliterating your opponent with great tranquility and comfort, you're going to end up wrecked or even killed. So your aura is a shield. It could be that this entity is trying to prolong the communication, the contact, in order to damage your aura and get inside of that aura, and who knows what that being is going to attempt. Let's continue.
Do this until the answer man says goodbye and hangs up. After the call is ended, everyone must immediately destroy the phones used to conduct the ritual. Now, let's go over the things that can go south during this ritual. If you fail to answer the questions given to you, you'll feel a tingle in a part of your body. It could be anything as small as a toe to as big as an arm. This is a sign that you failed, and the answer man will make it so you.
You see, that little tingle, that sensation, it could be the answer man drilling a hole in your aura through that part of your body in order to cause harm. Let's continue.
Lose that body part to illness, an accident, or maybe they'll take their fee right then and there as a gnarled hand reaches from the phone and takes what's now theirs. If you accept the
Okay, I don't think you will be able to see a hand appearing from out of your cell phone, but those that have what you would call the spirit sight, able to see invisible beings, invisible creatures. And remember, the police forces around the world and even governments, they have worked with these sorts of operations. A certain, the K waiting for the algorithm, G waiting for the algorithm, B actually had a program where they attempted to recruit ghost spies. Can you believe that? They wanted to recruit ghost spies. And of course, if you take a look into a certain intelligence agency here in America, you will see that they carry out these sorts of operations, of experiments in order to control the population. These entities, especially demons, They value, they treasure parts of your etheric body, or if possible, the entire etheric body. Remember that in occult philosophy, each human is considered to have various bodies: the etheric body, astral body, the mental body, spiritual body. And the etheric body is quite useful because it is between worlds. It is close to the material realm, but also close to the astral. It's like a middle point, and you can do all sorts of things in the material and the astral through your ethereal or etheric body, rather. That's why you see so-called human ghosts that are not human. They are demons dressed in this ghostly attire, in this etheric body that they stole from a human. So when someone says, "Oh, I saw the ghost of my great grandmother," or who knows what, or my grandmother, but it was weird. She had black eyes instead of having normal human eyes. She had black eyes, and she looked kind of like a corpse, and she was scary, and she had this really bad vibe to her. I felt nauseous. That's a demon wearing the grandmother's etheric body, kind of like clothing, like a shell. So these demons, they, if they can, they get at least a chunk of your etheric body, or the entire body if possible. That will reduce your lifespan. The etheric body is so valuable to you when it comes to health. And that's why sometimes there are also apparitions that, oh, they only saw a pair of legs walking around, or they only saw half a torso, or a floating head. That's because the entity only managed to get its hands on part of that etheric body. Etheric body. Let's continue.
Answer man's offer, then they'll exploit a loophole, stating that they'll certainly give you free information, but only if you answer their final question. This question will be far more difficult than anything asked previously, practically guaranteeing that you'll lose a limb. Do not put the phone on speaker or try to pass the phone to another.
Now, some could be thinking, does this mean that if this entity rips off your leg, your ethereal leg or etheric leg, does that mean that you immediately lose your leg in real life? No, in the material realm. But you will lose it eventually if that actually happens, because the harm caused to the ethereal body, or sometimes even the astral body, sometimes it has an effect on our physical body. The astral is a bit more powerful, astral body, or rather more resistant, sturdier when compared to the etheric body. That's why sometimes you think you are having a dream, and in that dream somebody attacks you, a monster or whatever. You have a nightmare, the monster attacks you, and you wake up and you are hurting in the part where that monster attacked you. That's because the pain from the astral body, it translated or had an effect on your physical body. But the astral body is very strong. So even if you get cut into pieces during a nightmare, you get chopped up, or destroyed or annihilated, whatever. In the great majority of cases, you wake up and you're like, oof. And you could usually rationalize it as, oh, well, probably I was sleeping in an awkward position and I got a bit my arm twisted or whatnot. But it's because those subtle bodies had an effect on your physical body. Okay, let's continue. Before, what I was saying about the etheric body, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Let's continue.
This can anger the answer man, and you certainly don't want that. And finally, do not refuse to destroy the phone you used, otherwise, you might get a call back. And this time, it might not be the answer man.
A lot of tools, artifacts that are employed in these rituals are usually destroyed in order to cut off communication between you and the entity. But that is not always the case. That's why in ceremonial magic, you have all sorts of wands and staves and swords and knives. If you take a look at the repertoire of someone who practices what is referred to as high magic, it looks as if that practitioner is going to battle, to war, because those entities are affected by those tools, and sometimes those tools are your only line of defense. However, after lots of practice, experience, and developing your psychic centers, It is actually possible. Do not attempt it, especially if you are not a beginner, but an advanced practitioner is quite capable of calling upon those entities, even without tracing circles and using sigils and talismans. Once you are developed enough, you can even contact them without any sort of protective barrier. In a conventional sense, you still have your guardians, your own psychic potential, but it is possible to have your own magical circle, magical protective circle, so to speak, in other levels of existence. You carry it around with you, and you don't need to create this super elaborate ritual room. You will have to do that when you are first getting started, because you are not well developed in that sense, or well trained. But yes, it's quite curious. Let's continue.
Can you see a ghost? This game is quite different from the rest. In fact, you don't need any special precautions or anything. You can do it right now. But a word of warning. Participation does come with a risk, so for those of you on the fence, you can listen to the end and decide if you'd like to give it a try. For everyone else,
Okay, like in the other video, those of you that are too impressionable, or perhaps, yes, that you feel like some sort of gut instinct or intuition that you shouldn't watch this, do not watch this this part of the video. In the great majority of cases, nothing will happen. But as I mentioned to one of my viewers, it is there could be a tiny little chance that perhaps you are quite potent, psychically speaking, but you haven't developed or learned to control your potential, and you are watching these rituals, and suddenly you activate something by accident. It is very rare. It is too rare. But just take that into consideration. If you think that, oh no, what if I activate something, then don't watch this part. In general, like I said, nothing happens. And just take a look, for example, at this YouTuber. Well, you can see that this YouTuber, currently, he is under the effects of depression. In occult philosophy and lore, that's also considered to be a sort of demonic effect. When you let yourself be controlled by your own demons, so to speak, you cannot fall into depression. You need to do some things about what is depressing you, what is depressing. That's how you move forward. It is a bit appropriately so. It is sad that these people that are the victims of depression, they do not listen to those of us that do not have depression, that are not depressed. If you want to escape depression, you should listen to people that are optimistic, because they are not affected by depression. They are healthy, but they start to look for the cures for depression from those that are depressed as well. So it's a vicious circle. But like I said, this YouTuber has obviously shared various occult rituals and ceremonies and urban legends, and he hasn't lost a limb and all of that. So he obviously didn't trigger these rituals by listening to them or by sharing them. But like I said, what if the effects are depression, right? Who knows? Well, either way, if you think this is risky, do not watch this section of the video. For those of you that are brave and wish to continue, let's look into this.
else, close your eyes. Step 1. Visualize your childhood home. If you can't, it's okay, your current home will do just fine. Step 2. Imagine that you're standing in your room, and then proceed to take a tour of.
This is in order to achieve astral projection. You're going to be accessing this copy of your house that exists in the upside down world. It is completely a copy of your home. So by closing your eyes and using visualization, it would still be quite difficult to achieve, because in order for you to obtain astral projection, you need to be there. You need to feel as if you wake up there. So if you close your eyes and then you feel as if you suddenly woke up in that dimension by closing your eyes, you have achieved the astral projection. So this initial part is about getting you to project your consciousness, your awareness into your astral body, probably to contact a spirit over there. Let's continue.
Of your home. Step 3. Once you have gone through every room in your mind, return to your room and then open your eyes. I'll give those that are participating enough time to pause so you can have your tour in full. All done? Okay. Now, everyone who participated, did you happen to see anything out of the ordinary while you were on your imaginary stroll? If not, then you do not have any spiritual ability and don't have to worry about a thing. If you saw
Those 3 steps are pretty average, pretty standard when it comes to astral projection. When you project yourself, it is always better to protect yourself in some way. Usually, you visualize an egg of light, your aura becoming this brilliant force field of light. But everyone has his or her own ways of doing this. Sometimes, if you work with angels, you call upon the angels to protect you. You have the authority over certain demons. You send out demons to destroy anyone who tries to harm you during your journey. It depends on the person. For beginners, the white light or calling upon angels, because angels, as I have mentioned, they are beings of order. And as humans, we are searching for order in this chaotic life. Both forces are necessary, chaos and order. If chaos did not exist, everything would stagnate. There wouldn't be any changes. But if everything was under the control of order, everything would paralyze. Yes, if everything was chaos, it would be hell. You know how in hell they show you these landscapes. Those of you that have visited the superficial levels, because you cannot go deeper. If you go deeper into hell, you won't get out of there. You won't be able to escape. Like that, it's in Italian, right? Dante's Inferno. Lasciate ogni speranza, voi centrate. Abandon all, I think it's Italian, correct me if I'm wrong. Abandon all hope, all those who enter here, all ye who enter here. I'm sorry if I butchered the Italian pronunciation. In those levels of hell, everything it's constantly changing. That's why you see these walls and floors and everything made out of flesh and melanoma or tumors, and everything is changing, fluctuating, monstrous. And suddenly you see these temples, and they look quite orderly and neat, and suddenly those shapes change, and you see these beautiful beings, and suddenly they turn into nightmarish aberrations, and it's nightmare. It's eternal nightmare down there. So in our material world, you have this combination of chaos and order, because if order were to rule absolute, nothing would advance. Everything would be stagnation, paralyzed. We would be statues, unmoving. So you need both order and chaos. Like I said, it's all up to you and how you wish to protect yourself, but because of the orderly nature of angels, they are great to serve you as guides and protectors. Let's move on.
friends or family, then you do have some spiritual ability. The rooms in question where you saw these spirits actually house more spiritual power than any of the other rooms, which, if you'd like to perform other rituals, is important to keep in mind. Now, if you saw strangers or people you know to be deceased, then you have a strong.
In the house where you are right now, like I said, you have like the other planar version of your house in another dimension. And there could be many creatures there. If you have a nice looking garden, it is quite common for beings of the fae, like they say, like little elves and all of that, and gnomes and dwarves, etc. They love to be in gardens, especially where there are fruit trees. If you have nuts on your garden, beautiful flowers, They love it. So this ritual is pretty much just an astral projection ritual for you to interact with those beings, or at least perceive them. Let's move on.
Long amount of spiritual energy. When invoking spirits by discussing them or listening to stories, you will be more likely to attract random spirits floating about. You might even go to occasions.
Yes, he mentions the risk of getting possessed or affected when you go to haunted locations. That is possible, especially when it comes to a person that is not balanced in terms of aggression. If you have some idiot that is constantly under the effects of his own violence, let's say a criminal or something, think of a deranged criminal. He's going to even, you could arguably say that he's already possessed, but he can get even more possessed by different entities, because human beings that do evil acts, they are not in their right minds. They are being controlled by something. But here's the catch: you cannot be possessed by something that you do not call upon. If you have evil wishes on your heart, you're going to be possessed by an evil spirit. That's why they say, oh, that person was fighting his own demons, or that person is not human. The things that that criminal has done, or whatever, a human does not commit such things. You know, the typical, like the inspiration for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Ed Gein. He dressed himself in the corpses of the bodies that he dug out, dug up from the graveyard, and his victims as well. He dressed himself in those corpses. You could see it as a demonic behavior, what I mentioned of the demons dressing themselves in the etheric bodies. It's the same thing, but they are using human skin instead. They are possessed by demons. So yes, there is always that risk, but when it comes to your own house, sometimes there are malicious entities that invade your house on the other side, and they are waiting to make the jump into the material realm, at least temporarily, not entirely, but momentarily, partially. That's why it's always important to perhaps apply a bit of feng shui, the art of arranging the furniture so that there is good energy flowing through your house, looking into the magical properties of plants, stones. The selenite is a powerful stone that provides healing and protection. Purchasing a good chunk of selenite and placing it at the center of your house, maybe your living room, at the bottom floor, the ground floor, is going to create a powerful energy field. But it's, in my case, I have so many protections all over my house. I consider it the safest place on earth. So yes, always keep that in mind when it comes to protecting your house from all sorts of things. This is not just about ghosts and whatnot. This is also about criminals that may try to get into your house. Some houses are so well protected that even if you do something stupid and you leave the window open or the door open, and suddenly perhaps 2 days could go by and no one enters your house because it is so protected. Okay, you shouldn't be careless, of course. Maybe the entities helping you, some good spirits or angels or all sorts of beings that are working with you, they could be like, we can no longer hold the portal. Come on, lock this door on the physical realm so that we can stop focusing on this. So it's better to protect yourself pragmatically and spiritually, or rather materially and spiritually. That's a much better way of putting it.
And the rooms where you saw the spirits, try not to go into them too often. Finally, if you saw strange shadowy beasts or silhouettes with piercing red eyes watching you as you took your tour, you have an overabundance of spiritual energy and should seek purification as soon as possible. So, how'd it go?
Okay, we are going to stop here today. I actually think that this ritual is necessary. essential because it will train you in the art of astral projection. But like I said, visualize, feel and visualize that white light protecting you. Search for the guidance of good angels, and then carry out your astral projections, and you will see if there is something malicious, something evil in your house. Even though it's in the other dimension, it's still having an effect on the material realm. Some people could be experiencing great hardship, calamities, tragedies, and it's because some evil creature has gone into their house and it is working all sorts of bad things within that environment. So if you, like the video said, if you suddenly see this monstrous being, like shadow creature, shadow beast with red eyes, there is actually a demon in your house and you need to take care of it. You could actually try to fight it astrally, a bit risky. You need to be quite developed when it comes to your psychic powers. You need to have undergone some intense meditation, like the Wim Hof method or sun gazing. Really research into those techniques before attempting them. In the case of sun gazing, it is not looking at the sun when it is the UV index is at its strongest. It is when you take some time every day when the UV index is at its lowest, when the sun first appears, you can barely glimpse it in the horizon. You have to work it little by little, like 10 seconds the first day, 20 seconds the second day. You work up. I completed the process. I was able to look at the sun for 45 minutes, and then I started to go downwards, and that's how you activate your pineal and pituitary glands. But like I said, look into the ritual. Do not damage your eyesight. If you do it in the wrong way, you're going to damage your eyesight. You're not going to obtain any benefits. Oh, on YouTube, this is science fiction. This is not real. Do not take down this video. This is science fiction. But okay, I hope this video was informative and entertaining. I'm going to continue with this video series, and today, in about 3 hours, I'm going to put the message in my community tab when I am about to participate in this stream with Shoner. We are going to talk about immersion in tabletop RPGs. Check it out if you are interested in that. Once again, thank you. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.